that?
Yes. Yes, very good.
It's interesting, isn't it? When you first start to do this, you wonder, will it work? Will we actually manage to connect with each other?
Yes, yes, it is the first time, but yeah, it's quite easy, which is good. It's good.
It's nice, isn't it, to think, there we are, Mindful Me's going live now with conscious finance coaching. I imagine people may wonder, or may not wonder, why you and I would be interested in talking with each other. I loved the fact that you had the word conscious in your title, a conscious finance coach, because I love how mindfulness and consciousness and money can have a conversation with each other. So I'm happy to see you, and I'm really looking forward to the conversation that we can have. How would you like to introduce yourself, Carol, and tell us about who you are and why you're here to do this tonight?
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. Yeah, it's interesting you pick up before I go into that, even the conscious piece, because that was something that I was very adamant on. And when I'm setting up my business, having conscious in the name, and it's one thing I get questioned on a lot. Why conscious? And it's exactly that. It's that mindful element to money that I think is so important and really is a game changer when we apply that mindful and conscious kind of aspect to money. But that aside, we'll get into that. You asked about me. So who am I guess? I am a chartered accountant by trade. I guess a little background as to how I came about to do this and maybe some qualifications behind it. I'm a chartered accountant by trade. I had a very traditional finance career for 19 years, trained with PricewaterhouseCoopers, right up to regional CFO level, 11 years here in the UAE. And long story short, I could talk about that forever, but long story short, I got to the point where I was in my late 30s, had an amazing job, ticked all the boxes as a woman, as a mother, as a female in a very male-dominated industry. If you think about it, like finance is very male-driven. Most chief financial officers are men. But I was very lucky, and with who I worked for and worked with, ticked all the boxes that I should want and thought I wanted, but then realized I wasn't fulfilled. I mean, these were the dream jobs that I was getting and amazing opportunities, and wasn't fulfilled. So I decided it was time to look at what I really wanted to do with my life and why I wasn't so happy. So that's what I did, and that's where conscious finance coaching came about. I looked at what I enjoyed doing, my career, 19 years, didn't want to throw away 19 years either. Looked at what I enjoy doing and what I wanted to do with my life and how. And for me, a lot of it was, what was missing was helping people. And in my job, I helped people sometimes, but I solved problems was a big thing. So I came up with finance coaching. I have a passion for personal finance. I have a passion for the impact that money has on our lives. And the more research I did into that, the more I felt this is it for me. And I do focus very much on women. I do have male clients, but my real passion is to help women, because I think that's where there is a real need, to be honest. And help. My mission is to help people, mainly women, but people in general, to have a better relationship with their money. And I love seeing the life-changing impact.
Yes, with their money.
Yes, absolutely. It's a relationship. And that's, people are kind of surprised when I explain what I do, that for me, it's not about numbers. It's not about sitting down. Well, it is. There's a lot of spreadsheets involved, but that's not the core. The core is mindset and how we feel about money and how that impacts our day-to-day lives. Which I find fascinating, and really is, when we dig into it, really, really, impactful for people.
Can I ask you the questions about when you first meet with someone? Because I think this is what people would be fascinated about. Yeah. So I could say to you, if I came to talk to you, how would you ask me, what is my relationship with money? What kind of questions would you ask me to work out how I relate?
So many questions. And generally it's, what it is? It's giving people the space to talk about it, because we don't talk about money, especially as women. Men too, it's everyone. And that's across geographies and cultures and generations. We generally don't talk about women. So the first thing I do is I try and help people feel safe. It's very much a no shame, no blame, no judgment environment. So I just said, tell me about your relationship with money. Like, essentially, why did you come to me? You know, what do you want? What is bothering you about the financial situation in your life? And people then just open up. It's amazing. Like, once you give them that safe space, it's something that people desperately want to talk about, but don't feel safe to do so because there's so much shame attached to money and how they manage.
That. Tell us about that, because it fascinates me that people have shame. Where is it that we learn? If you were to ask me, what is my relationship with money? I would say to you, I'm no good with numbers. So I've always had someone else do the numbers part for me, and I trust that they do it. But one of my earliest memories of relationship with money is if I was to ask my father when I was really small, could we have an ice cream, please? Oh, I love that. Can I have that book? I know I can hear his voice still say, what do you think? Money grows on trees? Have you gone out into the backyard and had, look, there's only apples on our trees. Money doesn't grow on trees. It always made me feel that there wasn't enough and it wasn't okay to ask. So the shame around that. Talk to us about why people would feel so much shame. What have you discovered?
Oh, so much. And it's so diverse. And it's true. It absolutely, not always, but mostly comes back to childhood experiences. And that's one question I ask people is, you know, tell me about your earliest memory with money, especially when they have a real block when it comes to money. Tell me about your earliest memory. What was, how when you were growing up, what was the money situation in your home? Did you have a lot? Did you have a little? What was your parents' attitude to money? How did they, even as a couple, if you grew up with, you know, mother and father, how's the dynamic? And what it helps people realize actually the impact that's had on them. And that's a very common one. Money doesn't grow on trees. And it creates that scarcity mindset where people think, like you said, there's not enough money. And then and that's, you know, if you think about it, that has such a broad aspect on how we behave. And it's not just about how we spend our money. It's about what we do as jobs. I mean, it has a big impact into, I ask people, you know, tell me about your job. Why do you do your job? And when we dig into it, very often it can be because of the income that it generates. And that's the motivation. It's not their passion. It's not their love. It's because they have this scarcity mindset going, I need to earn as much as I possibly can, as quickly as I can, because it's going to run out. It's a finite resource. Money's not a finite resource. There's plenty of money for everybody. But it's about mindset and the unawareness of that. And that's where the consciousness comes in. Vast majority of my clients, they have an element of it because they come to me because they know that there is something there that they can improve on. But so many people don't have that link between how they think about money versus and how the impact that has on their lives, and then their childhood influence. And it's so broad as well, that influence. It can be the other end of the spectrum where there was plenty of money and money was no object, and money did grow on trees because you could have whatever you wanted. But that also has, and sometimes it creates a negative relationship with money. And in many ways that can manifest. Sometimes people feel unworthy. They're like, I don't deserve this. When they're older, then they realize, actually, what do you mean? You know, if they find themselves in a situation where they're not earning to the level that the lifestyle that they're used to, for example, they feel like they've failed, and they don't understand why. And then very often, because they've never had to learn how to manage money, then they become an adult and don't know how to. And then there's the shame of, I'm such an age and how do I not know how to do this? Everybody else knows how to do this. But the thing is, because we don't talk about it, everybody doesn't know how to do this. They don't.
Oh. Carol, do you know, I've often thought, as a mindfulness teacher, that I want to say to people, two of the scariest topics we could talk about, apart from love, which is the most scariest one of all, we could have a conversation about money and we could be talking about sex.
Yes.
We don't speak about it in public. It's shameful.
It's dirty.
It's fearful. Yeah. And the embarrassment that comes around how much is enough. So what I'm curious about is how did you get started? and being interested and having an entire career. In fact, 20 solid years of accounting and numbers. And what were your beliefs in the early days? How did you come upon seeing, looking and understanding your relationship with it?
Through mistakes. I've made a lot of mistakes, and people have this assumption, but you're an accountant. You know what to do with money. No, I know what to do with numbers. I'm good with numbers. And to me, how you manage your money and how you feel about your money has not a direct correlation with how good you are with numbers. You know, as they say, decisions are not made on a spreadsheet. Spreadsheet is information. The decisions you make come from here and come from who you are and your life experiences. So yeah, absolutely, I've made mistakes, and it made me think, because a few years ago I was in a lucky position where I had myself and my husband, you know, their family, we had a little bit extra, and we were trying to figure out what to do with that. And I had shame attached to that because I'm an accountant, I should know. You know, I felt like I couldn't go asking for help because, you know, I thought I should know. There's so many shoulds attached to it. And even in my career, I mean, I very much grew up with that scarcity mindset that money didn't grow on trees. That was said in my household a lot. Money didn't grow on trees. You know, we didn't have an abundance of money when we were growing up. You know, we had what we needed. But there would have been that you need to be careful with money. And then I would have grown up, my mother was very independent minded and was very much, Carol, you need to be independent and have a career so that you have that independence, because money gives you independence, and have your own money. And so I did the typical, I mean, I loved it. I mean, I did the accounting, and which can be a very lucrative position. And that to me gave me security, because I thought having that income would give me security, and that would make me happy. It was never really about the materialistic side of it. Yes, I like nice things. We all like nice things. But it was about the security that I craved. But then, like you said, well, when is enough enough? And this is the thing. And it's really interesting, you know, the research into this as to when enough is enough. And that is crucial, I think.
It's interesting to me that people oftentimes equate security and safety with enough money, whereas I think security and safety is understanding I am loved. So when I speak to people and they say, what do you mean love? It's all to do with, have I got enough? Have I worked hard enough? Have I saved enough? And will I be able to cope with my life in 50 years' time? So when you think about mindfulness being present with what we have now, most people I meet to talk with about money are more worried about what they may not have in 30 years from now. Exactly.
And then, and then that becomes a scramble to try and do as much as you possibly can now and focus on that. And you're living in the future. You're living for the future. And there is, I mean, my approach is, like, there's a lot of, you know, there's like finance, right? There's so many different opinions on this, and so many different approaches. And there is that what some people feel should be the right way to do is reduce as much now, restrict as much now, and save for the future. But my thing is, like, we have to live for now. We don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I could walk outside tomorrow and get hit, and, you know, and I have all this money in the bank. What's it useful for me now? So and that's one of the exercises I do with my clients, is go through your kind of net worth. And that is, look at your assets now and your liabilities. And that's now. What do you have now? And then if that's a positive, let's be grateful for that and let's build on that. And if it's a negative, then it's about the clarity and awareness, and you're conscious of it. Let's change that situation and flip it around. But it's about now. What can we do now, not 30 years time? I love that you say that. I love that you say that it's about now, because I talk so often with people, particularly to teach them about mindfulness being present now. And I understand that they are living constantly ahead of themselves because of the fear of what might happen in the future, because of the fear that they've gathered in the past. So being taught that there's such a scarcity mentality means that we can't ever actually really fully live. Everyone thinks it's about the enough word. What is enough? When will we have enough? So sad when you think about it. It is, because it has such an impact on our lives and what we do. And like, and me, for example, like, I did follow that finance route, and it's a high pressure, busy, high commitment, high responsibility when you get to that level. And even, you know, at any point, and a lot of us take on these jobs And I loved it. Don't get me wrong. Like, there was part of it that I really loved, but it was about saving for the future. And like you said, I lived in fear. I lived in fear of, what if this ends? What will I do if this ends? And that to me turned into, I need to squirrel away as much as I possibly can, because I need to have that behind me so that I'm safe if my job ends. And I ended up for 19 years, parts of it I loved, but in a career that wasn't my passion. And it was because I wanted to protect myself, because I felt it gave me that, for the future. It was protecting myself for the future.
Thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And a lot of that, what I do, I think, is a really interesting one when it comes to this kind of way of approaching money, is the values conversation. And one of the first things I do, and depending on the clients, some people are more open to it or not, and I've managed to find a way to kind of weave it in. But one of the examples I give is like, if, are you putting your money behind your values? And I think that's a real game changer for people when they link that, going that, like, money is actually can enhance my life. It's not going to rule it. It's not going to fulfill me. But if I use it to do what it is I love, then it's enhancing. And very often, because we're unconscious about this, people don't link it, and then that's where kind of overspending happens, or frivolous spending happens, and people feel uncomfortable about how they're spending, because they haven't made that link of, actually, I can use my money. I control my money. I decide where it goes, and if I put it in that way, it can have a really positive impact.
So we think about secrets to do with shame, secrets that people keep secrets. I'm often astonished how in a relationship a couple keeps money secret from each other, and often it's the conversation that they have not had to begin with, and they will not have. Many women tell me they have no idea what their husband's salary is, and many say, I will not tell him mine. And I'm curious about the impact that has on family life. And when I think about money as being an energy, I'm curious about how, if you stop the energy there, what other things do we stop?
Exactly. And that's it. It's such a powerful energy in our lives. If you think about what it drives, I mean, why do we work? We're given our energy at work to earn money, which, anyway, there is a lot of, talk about how money is life energy. That is what it is. It enables us to do what we want to do, what we have to do to put food on the table. It's the energy that drives us. And yes, and it's a very common thing actually within my clients as well, in relationships, where they don't talk to each other. And it's a mix, actually. It's a mix between male and female as to, it's not just male dominated or female dominated. It really is a mix. And I think it comes back to that original mindset. And it could be anything from someone saying, like, as a female, my partner doesn't know what I earn because I suspect I earn more than him, and I don't want that to be a problem. Or I don't want to feel dependent on him, so we keep our finances completely separate. Or a lot of it is actually that, back to that shame, and that what a lot of women in particular say to me is, I feel stupid. I don't understand. I don't want him to judge me. I don't want him to think I'm stupid. Therefore, I let him just take care of it. And that's the bit that really gets me. That kind of, I feel, how many times I hear, I feel stupid.
Well,
sorry, my earpiece fell out.
I love that you've said that. I want to take this opportunity to say to the people who are with us watching this, that you and I, the reason we're doing this conversation is that this coming Sunday evening on Zoom, starting at 7 p.m, Mindful Me are going to be doing a mindful living session for 2 hours, in which you come and spend time with us so that anyone who arrives on the screen can ask questions and do the actual exploration with each other, so that we can have a conversation that revolves and swirls around and grows when we look at what our beliefs actually are about money, why we're so uncomfortable with it. When I first talked to you about this, said to you, would you be willing to come and do that? Understand that there's quite a group of us who enjoy meeting together to talk. We love to explore quite openly with each other how we feel consciously about things. And money is something we haven't actually ever really spoken about. I was delighted to be able to ask you if you can come and help us do that. So anyone who is here watching now is really, really welcome to come and do that. The only thing you have to do is through this Instagram account, get in touch with our wonderful Alfie, who does the bookings for us. He'll very happily give you the link to come online and say to you, as part of our community openness to people, to come and join to do this with each other. We have the amount that you need to pay on a rolling scale. So we say anything from 50 dirhams up. We'll give you the opportunity, you choose it, to get a Zoom link and join a conversation where you can ask the questions, listen to other people speak, and listen and consult with you, really, over 2 hours. I'm so looking forward to that, Carol. I'm so glad that you've agreed to come and do that. That's why we're meeting now to talk about, to let all of you know that the reason for us having this conversation now is so that we can really grow it together. This coming Sunday evening, the 17th. I'm looking forward to that. So it's fun actually on Zoom, isn't it? Listening and talking to. You enjoy it?
Yes, it is. It's really good. Obviously, it's a different dynamic. But it's, I mean, Zoom is, it's really good. And I think, I'm really excited about Sunday night too, because I think the power in that conversation together, and what I found, even with just the more I talk about what I do, even within social groups, it's amazing once people get comfortable what they talk about and how much we actually have in common and what we can learn from each other when you're in that safe space to talk about it. Yeah, it's really powerful what people can share.
Our common humanity means that all of us operate from the same fear base somewhere or other, don't we? People often say to me, when you take part in a conversation where you can contribute if you like, but when you listen, you hear just like me, and someone will ask a question that you may be too shy to ask. I love the fact that we can freely discuss it. The energy of money, the feeling around money, our fears around it, our shame around it, and open up some of this for ourselves, make discoveries for ourselves.
Yes.
So, Carol, if people wanted to contact you and take part in your service, for instance, how would they go about that?
So they can contact me on, I have an Instagram account, All Conscious Finance Coaching. If you Google, there's links on Instagram, Facebook, my website. I have a free 20-minute chat. So if you're not sure about what I do and how the process works and if it would work for you, I have a free 20-minute. There's a link on there. You can book yourself in. And we have a chat, and I hear about what your concerns are, how you're feeling about it, and then I can tell you about more about what I do and how it all works. And then if we want to go ahead, we go from there. Generally, what I do is the first session, which is kind of the real kickoff session, is what I call the empowerment session, because to me it's all about empowerment, because it's taking that power back. Yes, because money, like, it's an energy, and what's energy? Energy is power. So power our lives. And so I call that empowerment session. And that's where it's 2.5 hours. Sounds like a long time, but it flies. We try to make it fun. And we go through, mindsets, but largely, about, where we're currently spending our money, that clarity. Let's get conscious about where we currently are. What is your net worth? Where are you currently spending your money? Is that in line with your values? Let's look at your financial goals. And the goal, and the feedback so far, positive, that people come away with that feeling so much more positive about their financial situation. And that's everything from, I have clients. And it's every issue.
No judgment.
Oh, thank you. No judgment. And that's really important. And even I make that clear very often in my 20-minute calls, when we kind of go into a bit more information about how it all works, is there is no judgment. And actually, in actual fact, if you're looking for someone who is going to be your accountant, in the sense that to tell you, you should have done this, why did you do that, the question, that's not me. That's not who I am. If there's no shame, no blame, it's about, let's look at where we are, and then where do we want to go, and how do we get there?
And of course, I imagine you talk to them about absolute confidentiality as well, so that builds a safe space.
100%. 100%, always confidential. Yes. And that's it. It's a safe space. And it's amazing how we kind of, other aspects of life come up because money is so entwined in everything. So 100% confidential. Yes.
And
Nothing
as well
gets
as
shared
that,
outside.
do you help people who are really struggling, really in the cart? Could they come to you if
Yes.
they were in a total mess with their finances?
100%. Like my clients are every spectrum. I do have some who have multiple debts, who are really drowning, who are halfway through the month and their money is gone and they don't understand where it's going. And that's a very common problem, where it's all in here. And I think, I know I spent here and I probably spent a little bit there, but I don't understand where it's going. And what I bring is clarity. Know where your money is going. And then we make a plan, whether that's you have debts. To the other kind of end of the spectrum where someone has a high income and quite a lot of kind of cash left over. And it's amazing, that brings shame and that brings kind of feelings of inadequacy and fear because they don't know what to do with it. I know I should do more with my money. I don't know what to do. I've turned to this person and all they want to do is, it wasn't helpful. So yes, so it doesn't matter what your perceived problem is or what it is that you're struggling with at the moment. We can work through it and go through it. And a lot of that is in that 20-minute call, where if it is something that I feel I'm not equipped for, I can hopefully point you to someone who can, or I explain to you how I feel we could move forward with that. And if that feels right for the person, then we book in and we get going.
Oh, I'm so happy to be able to help people to find you, to connect with you in that way. Because, one of the biggest painful discoveries in this last COVID 2020 year is the loss for many people of their strain of their income, or they're having to live from their savings. So many people must be feeling quite frightened. I'm so aware of that. I'm really happy that they can contact you and feel safe and know that you've had all this experience and they can trust you. But I'm really
that's
happy.
what I hope.
Yeah, I'm so looking forward to us being able to really grow this conversation Sunday night. So let me just say that again. Anyone is welcome to come. As many as possible. We'd be open house for you. Would so love more than anything to be able to do it in the flesh, face to face. But Zoom has become one of my closest friends these days. I'm happy to work with it. All you need to do is contact Alfie, and you can contact him through Instagram or by phoning. I can just say the number for you now if you've got a pen. Christy has just put up on the screen that you can email info@mindfulme.me. And Christy, I'd love it if you could put up our phone number in case anyone wants to WhatsApp Alfie, because he loves that mode of communication. And the telephone number, ask him, please can I come to Mindful Living this coming Sunday night? We begin at 7 o'clock on Zoom, so you don't have to leave home. Enjoy a conversation between Carol, our conscious finance coach, and members of our community who love inviting people to speak. Yes, 2 hours worth of understanding our shames, our secrets, our fears, and the joy that money can bring.
That's
anything
it.
else,
Converting it to joy.
like to say, Carol?
No, I think we've covered, and I think that's it. Why you ended there with joy. Like, one of my real passion is to take that negative association with money and turn it into a joyful thing, a positive thing in our lives, and that's what we'll really get into and hopefully talk about in detail on Sunday night.
That would be lovely. Well, thank you so much for coming to join me. I've thoroughly enjoyed this. I'm so glad that at my stage of life, I'm not frightened anymore. I don't have fear around money anymore. And yet I talk constantly to people who have fear about all sorts of things. So it would be lovely to provide some ease for that. Thank you, Kirsty, for putting up the telephone number. Everyone, you can see 0544668400. We'll be very happy to have you. And thank you, everyone, for your lovely comments. I've missed you all too. Thank you for telling us. Yes, it's interesting to be able to talk about this and to know that you can get some help. It's been lovely seeing your names. Thank you for coming to join us. I look forward to seeing as many of you as possible on Sunday night. Much love to you all. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I look
You're
forward to
very
Sunday.
welcome. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Me too.
See you soon.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.